I have lived 72 years on this earth. I have amassed fortunes. I have lost fortunes. I have studied the sacred texts for more than 5 decades. And there is a truth that most rabbis will never tell you. A truth so disturbing that it has completely changed my understanding of human suffering. Have you ever noticed? The kindest people, those who pray daily, those who give to charity, those who do everything right, are often the ones who suffer the most. Meanwhile, others who seem to live without principles prosper effortlessly. This is not a coincidence. It is not a punishment. And it is definitely not divine injustice. What I am about to reveal has been hidden in the subtext of the Torah for 3,000 years. It is encoded in the book of Job. It is whispered in the Psalms. It is engraved in the Hebrew letters of God's name that you didn't even know existed. And when you understand this, when you truly grasp the reason for your suffering, everything changes. Your pain gains meaning, your sacrifice gains power, and your life, finally, finds the path to the redemption you always deserved. But I need to warn you, what I'm about to share goes against everything you've been taught about God, karma, and justice. Prepare your heart, because this ancient truth will shatter your beliefs, only to rebuild them into something far more powerful. Let me ask you something that will go straight to your heart. Why is it that you, of all those who have always tried to do the right thing, still carry such a heavy burden? Why do your prayers seem to go unheard, while others who have never prayed live in abundance? Answer in your heart, not to me, to yourself. If you received this message today, it wasn't by chance. Subscribe to this channel. We are a community of souls seeking ancient truth, not modern fairy tales. Together, we unveil secrets that have remained hidden for millennia. There is a passage in the Torah that most people ignore. It is in Deuteronomy chapter 8 verse 2. It says, "And you will remember all the way the Lord your God has led you, because of your affliction and your trials." Translated, "And you will remember all the way the Lord your God has led you, to humble you, to test you." Do you understand the word? Lenasotka. Just to try. Just to try. When I was young, just 19 years old, I studied with a rabbi in Jerusalem. He was blind. He had lost his sight at the age of 12 in a terrible accident. But his eyes, his inner gaze, saw more than any man I have ever known. One day, after months of study, I finally mustered up the courage to ask, "Rabbi, why did God allow you to lose your sight? You were just a child. You were pure. Why?" He smiled. That smile that still haunts me to this day. And he said, "My son, God did not take away my sight. He gave me another. You still see the world with the eyes of the flesh. I see with the eyes of the neshama, of the soul. And I tell you, those who suffer the most are the chosen ones to see more deeply." I didn't understand it at the time. It took me decades to understand it. But now I see it. And I'm going to show it to you. There is a profound concept in mystical Judaism called Yishurim Shel Ahava. Literal translation, the sufferings of love. Yes, you read that right. Suffering of love. The Torah teaches that there are 2 types of suffering in this world. The first is consequential suffering. You sow evil and you reap pain. This is fundamental justice, simple karma, cause and effect. But the second type. The second type is the one that breaks human logic. It is suffering without apparent cause. It is the pain that afflicts the righteous. It is the trial that befalls those who do all good. And the Torah has a name for it. Suffering of divine love. Why? Because God doesn't test the weak. He tests the strong. Think about it. When you want to know if a diamond is real, you don't just leave it on the ground. You press it, you heat it, you test it under extreme pressure, and if it survives, you know you have something exceptional, something precious, something eternal. The Talmud says, "Whom the Holy One, blessed be He, loves, He oppresses with suffering." Berejot 5a. Does this surprise you? It should, because it goes against everything modern religion has sold you. They told you that if you pray, everything will be easy. That if you're good, life will be peaceful. Lie. The truth is this: God doesn't make life easy for the chosen ones. He prepares them for something greater. In Kabbalah, there is a story about creation called Shevirat HaKelim, the breaking of the vases. When God created the universe, he poured his infinite divine light into spiritual vessels. But the light was so intense, so powerful, that the vessels could not contain it, and they shattered. Fragments of divine light have fallen, they have scattered across the world, and our mission as human beings is to gather these fragments, these sacred sparks, and return them to the divine. But here's the secret that changed my life. You can only gather the fragments of light if you break yourself first. A whole, intact, and perfect vase cannot contain fragmented light, it simply reflects it. But a broken vase? A broken vase has cracks, it has openings, it has spaces through which light can enter. Your suffering is not your destruction. It is your preparation to hold more light. People who have never suffered, those who live in constant comfort, may succeed in the world. But spiritually, they are closed vessels. There is no opening for divine light to enter. But you whom life has shattered, you who cried in the darkness, you who questioned, who fought, who almost gave up, you are the instrument God has chosen to carry his brightest light. Let's talk about Job. We all know the story superficially. A righteous man, he loses everything. His children die, his wealth disappears, his health is ruined, and he questions God. But there's something no one tells you about Job, something encoded in the original Hebrew text. At the end of the book of Job, chapter 42, verse 10, it is written, "And the Lord restored Job's fortunes, and the Lord added to all that Job had until his second coming. And the Lord restored Job's fortunes, and the Lord gave Job twice as much as he had." Do you understand? Oh, good. Job did not return to what he had before. He received the good. Why? Because suffering is not a subtraction. It is a multiplication that is about to occur. But here's the secret that few understand. Job only received double after praying for his friends. Read it again. Job was suffering. Job was devastated. And what did God ask of him? To pray for the friends who judged him, for the friends who blamed him, for the friends who abandoned him. And it was there, at the moment when Job decided to bless those who had cursed him, that the heavens opened. Your blessing doesn't come when you stop suffering. It comes when you decide to bless others even while you are suffering. So what do you do now? How do you transform your suffering into power? There is a prayer I learned from that blind rabbi in Jerusalem. It's not in any traditional prayer book, but it's the most powerful prayer I've ever recited. It's called Tefillat HaKabbalah, the prayer of acceptance. Here's how it works. Every morning before dawn, you remain silent. You close your eyes and you say, Ribono Shel Olam, Master of the universe, I accept this suffering as a gift. I don't understand why, I don't know what for, but I trust that you are preparing me for something my eyes cannot yet see. Break me if you must, mold me if you must, but do not abandon me. And when I emerge from this furnace, may I emerge as pure gold. Amen. Selah. This prayer does not eliminate suffering, but it transforms your relationship with it. Because when you stop resisting, when you stop asking, why me, and start asking, what for, everything changes. Suffering becomes a teacher, pain, a gateway, and you, unstoppable. I'm going to tell you something that will change your perspective forever. If you suffer more than others, even though you do everything right, it's not because God has abandoned you. It's because he has chosen you. Think of the great prophets. Moses stuttered. Jeremiah was imprisoned. Isaiah was sawn in two. They all suffered intensely. Why? Because God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies those who are called through suffering. You were chosen to carry a light that others cannot. You were chosen for a mission that others cannot fulfill. And that choice comes at a price. But here is the promise that is written in the stars, encoded in the Torah, and engraved in the heart of the universe. The greater the suffering, the greater the glory that will come. It's not when, it's if you remain faithful during the darkness. The man who lost everything. Let me tell you about David. He was an entrepreneur in Tel Aviv. He built a tech company from scratch. He worked 16 hours a day. He prayed every morning. He donated 20% of his profits to charity. At 45, he lost everything. The company went bankrupt. His wife left him. His children stopped speaking to him. He was left alone in an empty apartment, penniless, hopeless. David called me. He was crying. He was shouting, Rabbi, why? I did everything right. Where is God now? I didn't have easy answers. But I told him, David, keep praying, keep giving, even when you have nothing. He thought she was crazy, but something inside him accepted it. David began waking up at 4 a.m. He prayed, he studied the Torah, and even without money, he began helping other business owners who were bankrupt. He offered them advice. He offered them hope. 2 years later, one of the men he helped became an investor in a startup and invited David to be a partner. Today, David has 3 times the fortune he once did. But most importantly, he has peace. Because he understood, suffering didn't come to destroy him. It came to rebuild him and make him stronger. The woman who prayed in the desert. There was a woman named Miriam. She lived in a village in southern Israel. She never married. All her brothers started families, but she remained alone. Year after year I prayed, I fasted, I lit candles every Shabbat, and year after year, nothing changed. The villagers began to whisper, "God has forgotten her," they said. "She must have done something wrong." But Miriam didn't stop. She kept praying, not for a husband, not for children, but for one thing. "God, show me why I am here." One day, an orphaned girl appeared in the village. Nobody wanted her. Nobody had room for her. But Miriam opened the doors of her home to her. Then came another child, and another, and another. Today, Miriam runs an orphanage that houses 47 children. Children who would have died on the streets. Children who now have a future. And Miriam told me something I will never forget. "Rabbi, I used to think that God hadn't given me any children. But now I see. He gave me 47. Your suffering is not denial. It's redirection." The boy who saw angels. This story breaks my heart every time I tell it. I met a family in Haifa. They had a son, Ariel, who was only 8 years old. Ariel was born with a rare disease. He couldn't walk or run like other children. The parents prayed every day. They visited every rabbi. They recited every blessing. And nothing changed. One day the mother told me crying, "Rabbi, why my son? He's just a child. What did he do to deserve this?" I had no answers. But Ariel did. One day I sat down with him, and he said to me with those pure eyes, "Rabbi, I see things other children don't see. I see lights around people. I see angels. And God told me I'm here to remind you that there's something beyond this world." That child, at the age of 8, understood something that most adults will never understand. Ariel died at the age of 12. But before he died, he touched the lives of hundreds of people. He restored faith. He proved that physical frailty is not spiritual weakness. And his mother told me, years later, I wanted him to live 100 years. But God gave me 12 years with an angel, and that changed my life forever. Sometimes, the greatest purpose isn't to live a long time, it's to live deeply. But I don't know Hebrew. I don't understand these ancient texts. This isn't for me. Listen. You don't need to know Hebrew. You don't need to be Jewish. You don't need to understand every word of the Torah. What you need is an open heart, because divine wisdom isn't limited to a single language. It's written in the language of the soul. When you pray sincerely, in any language, God hears. When you suffer with dignity, wherever you are, God sees. The Torah is just the map, but the trip is yours. What if I've already tried everything and nothing works? What if I'm too tired to continue? I understand. I've been there. There have been times in my life when I've wanted to give up too. But here's what I learned. The moment you want to give up is exactly when the transformation is about to happen. The Torah speaks of Egypt, Mitzrayim. But Mitzrayim doesn't just mean Egypt. It means narrow place. A place of constriction. A place where you cannot breathe. And it is always at the narrowest point. The moment when you think you can't go on anymore. That the Red Sea parts. Don't give up now. You're closer than you think. What if I'm not spiritual enough? What if I'm not good enough for God to listen to me? This is the biggest lie your ego tells you. God doesn't expect you to be perfect. He expects you to be real. King David, the greatest king of Israel, was a murderer and an adulterer. But he wrote the Psalms. Why? Because he was honest. Because he wept. Because he humbled himself before God. God doesn't want you to be perfect. He wants your heart to be broken. Come as you are. Broken, confused, lost. Because that's where he works best. Now I'm going to tell you something that few people know. A secret I learned from the Kabbalistic masters of Safed. Is called Tikkun HaNeshama, the correction of the soul. Kabbalah teaches that before you were born, your soul chose this life. It chose its challenges. It chose its suffering. Not as punishment, but as opportunity for correction. You are here to fix something left unfinished in past lives, to learn a lesson your soul needs to learn, to awaken a divine spark that only you can ignite. And suffering is the chisel that sculpts your soul into the shape it needs. So the next time you feel pain, take a deep breath and ask yourself, what lesson is my soul trying to learn? What part of me is being corrected now? This question changes everything, because it transforms you from victim to student, from loser to spiritual warrior. Your suffering has a name, it has a purpose, and it has an end. This is your challenge. For 30 days, every morning when you wake up, do this. Days 1 to 10. The prayer of acceptance. Recite the prayer I gave you, out loud, with intention. Accept your suffering as a gift. Days 11 to 20. The practice of gratitude for suffering. Write down 3 things you are grateful for, but only learned through pain. It could be strength. It could be compassion. It could be wisdom. Days 21 to 30. The blessing of others. Find someone who is also suffering, and bless them, pray for them, help them, even while you are still carrying your own pain. Why do you remember good? His blessing came when he blessed others. Do this for 30 days. And observe. Observe how your life begins to change. Not because the suffering disappears, but because you become bigger than him. Son of light, daughter of the Most High. I know you arrived here broken. I know you arrived here confused. I know there are nights when you cry and don't know if the sun will rise. But I tell you, with the authority of 72 years of walking with God, they're not punishing you. They're preparing you. The Eternal One sees you. He counts every tear. He keeps every breath. And nothing, absolutely nothing, is wasted. May the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob open the heavens above you. May he pour out blessings so abundant you won't have room to store them. May he transform your suffering into glory, your pain into purpose, and your scars into crowns. May you be like gold refined by fire, purer, stronger, and brighter than you ever imagined. And may you live to see the day when you look back and say, I wouldn't change a thing, because everything was necessary to make me who I am. Go in peace. Go with strength. Go with the certainty that you are loved by the Creator of the universe. Shalom, shalom, shalom.